Hello and welcome to Paradigm Playbook, a podcast for entrepreneurs in the business of sports. Your hosts, Dave Kozak and Steve Cook, are business owners, successful entrepreneurs, sports enthusiasts, avid readers, and longtime friends. For years, they've read every business book on the market and built successful companies with what they've learned. This podcast will give you the critical takeaways in just 15 minutes a week. It's a quick and easy playbook for building a winning sports business. And now, here are your hosts, Dave and Steve.
We appreciate your feedback. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review. If not, we'd still love to hear from you so we can improve. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Paradigm Playbook's podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kozak, alongside my co-host, Mr. Steve Cook.
Morning, David.
Sir.
Let's get it going.
Can we start with the Go Phillies?
Yeah, go Phillies.
I'm just saying.
I was there. I'm running on 3 hours sleep, so
hey,
I'm feeling really good.
Excellent. And we've got a cool podcast today. Steve, you kind of reached out to me last week and said, "Hey, I got this idea. What do you think?" So why don't you share with us what it is you want to discuss?
Okay, so I'm traveling to California next week, speaking at the Summit, which is a entrepreneurs convention in the sports world. And my topic is trends that will affect entrepreneurs in the coming year. So I thought we could tackle it from two sides. Basic trends in society that we as business owners need to be aware of, and then some specific trends in the sports business that I'm seeing that can be listed as either opportunities or obstacles, and we'll decide which is which, and we can go from there. But if you want to, so the whole topic of trends and opportunities, and everybody starts out with, what if Blockbuster had understood that streaming was coming?
Mm-hmm.
Would Netflix even be there? Would Blockbuster be gone? They say if Yahoo had accepted the first offer from the boys that started Google, we wouldn't be Googling things today. We would be Yahooing them.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of, what ifs. So I think when we're talking about trends or opportunities, things that we have to keep our eyes open so that we can see what's going on. So if you want to first talk about some trends. And I just started picking lists off of the internet saying, okay, what's going on right now? We're going into fourth quarter 2023 into 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with a couple of these and we'll get your comments on them, Dave, and see what you think.
Let's do it.
And I think some of these, all of these probably affect all businesses. They're not unique to sports. So.
No, correct.
So the first one is working from home, or a hybrid work from home, partially work from the office. And I guess the blame for that has been put on the pandemic or
COVID.
But I think it was coming anyway, and there was a push for it.
Well, I can say that I've approached this probably as staunchly as anybody in my business, and meaning we never balked. You had to come to the office. I didn't have an option to really. Didn't have the infrastructure at the time to say everybody can just go work from home, nor do we have the type of business that can allow that, nor do I think sports businesses have the capability to do that. But in the trend environment, what has occurred and what I think will continue to occur is a more flexible environment, period. I don't think you're going to see companies sticking to the, 4 days from home, 1 day in the office. I think you're going to see people coming back into the office. I think it's going to be a forced environment where they have to. However, I know that I forced everybody into the office, but I also did it with some understanding of the situation. Meaning, okay, there are times where, hey, you know what? Stay home, take care of business, take care of yourself, take care of your kids, your family, whatever you got to do. So I have become more flexible to that arrangement, but it's not in my business. It'll never be, hey, everybody works from home these 2 days of the week. That'll never happen. but I am far more understanding on a typical basis of it. So I think it is a trend that will continue and one that will persist. But I think the idea that everybody's going to get a job where they can fully work from home, I think is false. And there's two reasons I say that. The first is there used to be this concept called the water cooler conversation, Steve.
Yes.
And the original water cooler conversation was stuff outside of business. But what the water cooler, it kind of turned into the huddle. The huddle meeting turned into this, hey, I'm seeing what you're doing. I'm understanding how you're talking. I'm growing as I'm listening to you, my manager or superior, and I'm advancing my career that way. And I think what is abundantly clear now after this 3-year experiment that we've been on in the business environment of the work from home is you're seeing a failure of people to climb in their capabilities because they're not around each other all the time. They're not learning from the mentors around them. Everything's a very structured meeting. We all get on the Zoom or the Teams or the whatever at this particular time. There is the meeting agenda. There is not sidebar conversation. There is not that stuff happening at the same level that it does in person. So I think you're going to see a gap of managerial experience. And that managerial experience is only fulfilled and completed when people come together.
Yeah, I think there was a notion going around that what was replacing the water cooler conversation was done on social media.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that theory, and I'll call it a theory because I think it's been disproven, is that social media is very much one-sided. You can say anything you want and you don't have to be held accountable. You can say things anonymously. You can,
well, and you can portray whatever you want, right?
Right. But the real benefit of, and you said it, of water cooler conversation, one is education. So you're learning, and you can say it was non-business things, but it all related to business because you're building people. And, we've said it 1,000 times that, culture eats strategy for breakfast, that if you're building that culture, you're building an understanding between employees. You can't do that remotely. And I think it's been proven that we had problems with kids in school and learning and everything else. Same thing happens in business.
Agreed.
Now take it to the sports. And the reason that this was on my list for sports facilities is because, it's obvious if you're coaching a class, teaching, a gym class or something, you need to be there. But you have to understand that your customers, the parents of some of your kids, are in a different situation. So you have to be aware of that situation in order to adjust. Maybe it's your schedule. Maybe you need more morning classes. Maybe, dad's home on Friday and Fridays, Friday morning is a good time. So adding the flexibility to the work schedule means you have to be ready to adopt some of the changes within your sports facility. But to me, it's an opportunity, because if there was ever opportunity for, we always have a problem where, we can double book anything after 3 p.m, and we generally underbook anything from 9 to 3, and we, basically absentee book anything outside those hours. So this is going to change all that because people have a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a real opportunity for sports businesses.
Yeah, I agree. It creates let's assume the work from home day is going to persist. It certainly generates an opportunity to schedule appointments, to do things that you otherwise would have had to do in the off hours or in the periphery. So I think you're spot on with that, where, if I can work from home and block out an hour, I can get to that class or that session or that piece of it. So I do think it is certainly an opportunity.
I think it kind of slides right into homeschooling. And with homeschooling, those of us in the sports business have an opportunity to provide homeschooler physical education, or any kind of activities that it's hard for parents, even if they're great at homeschooling and they know all the curriculum, is to run an activity class for one child at a time. So that's something where you need to bring the kids together. So if all of the sports facilities can go out and reach out, gather them in one class, then we can have, conglomerate of physical education classes during the day. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think that's one everybody that has a sports business should pay attention to.
The second one on my trends list, and we're obviously not going to get through all these, but the second one is mobile optimization and everything being done on your phones. And I think we hit a little bit on this with Christy a couple weeks ago or a week ago, whenever that was, that how much is being done, on your cell phone, and how much is, so, and now you see parents wanting to register for class, from work, and their access is through computer or, mobile phone. So you have to have the technology to enable that. So the interaction with your customer base has to be mobilized. And it's, obviously I've fought it for years because I'm so old school, but I think that's something that everybody's got to adapt to the technology.
Yeah. This is an interesting one for me because I constantly find myself looking at the phone annoyed that either it's too small or I can't get all the detail I want. And so then I kind of shift to the computer and then proceed from there. So I think you absolutely have to be you have to have that mobile ready environment. But I also think that, from my perspective, and this is a personal opinion, not a truth in business, I prefer to do certain things on the computer versus the phone. Mm-hmm. Number one, my eyes are going, so I don't like reading the small stuff. I don't like reading things on my cell phone at all. I use it for listening, for audio. I use it for, a quick review of an email or a quick look at the schedule. But when I'm really getting into it, I'm always shifting the computer. What I will say is it's a matter of convenience. So if I'm in a situation where I need to get something done and the only device I have is the cell phone, obviously I'm going to use it to do so. And sometimes I get home from work and I'm tired. I don't want to go set up my office. I don't want to go, when I say set up, really, let's talk about it. I'm pulling a laptop out. I'm plugging into my docking station in my home office mm-hmm. and turning everything on. But sometimes I just want to sit on the couch, and the phone's a very easy way to do it. So, again, I think you absolutely have to be optimized for mobile usage in what you're doing. I don't think the use of applications is going anywhere. So I think it's certainly a trend that'll stay for a long time.
And I think it can be fairly easily used in communication of events, opportunities, schedules, timing, directions, things like that. And I'm not saying it should replace the computer or live. I'm not one that says, when someone calls in, you say, well, you can get that on the app, so I'm not going to tell you. I think those that contact you by phone want an answer by phone. Those that contact you in person, they stop in, you need to be ready for that. So I'm not saying mobile optimization should replace the rest of it, but I think it should be added to the arsenal.
Yep.
So the next one on my list is increased diversity in the workforce. And this, and I put this on my list because this one affected us. So we're in a relatively high tech area, and in our immediate area, there's a high Asian population, and in offering sports opportunities to kids, there are different demands. So I never expected that I would be offering cricket lessons, but that's a customer demand of the population in my area. So we had to figure it out. And I think, and not that I think it'll ever replace baseball or basketball, but it's another opportunity. And it is a entry-level skill that a certain population understands better. So there's also ways of doing business that differ from population to population. And I think you have to be aware of that. And I'm not lecturing anybody on making their workforce more diverse. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being aware of the shifting trends in the population in the area that you live in.
Yeah. If we're talking about workforce, it's the best person for the job, period. when you're talking about the diversity that you're speaking to, yeah, you got to be eyes up, right? You got to pay attention to what's going on around you if you want to hit the if you want to hit goals. If people are coming in and they're spending time practicing cricket, using the facility, then yeah, the next question is, well, who can teach my child how to do that? So I think it's intelligent.
And if you're in the multi-sport facility business and you missed the pickleball trend, I mean, I don't even think that one's done maxing out yet, but it took off very fast. And not saying cricket will be the next one, but there are new sports coming around the corner every day.
Yep.
So I think some of that is diversity driven. That was my only point with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next one, how are we doing on time? We're good. The next one is niche market services. And that is narrowing down what you offer. And this one, I think, is easier to take from your business than from the sports side of it. But I assume that many of your customers are financial services, which is a big, rather broad brush. And then you narrowed it down. So talk about, how you identify a customer base by narrowing the focus.
Yeah. So I think it's vitally important in all businesses, and it will continue to be important as you see the expanse of technology, the expanse of fields of study, just what you're talking about, even the expanse of the amount of sports that are offered in society today, as opposed to, and I had this conversation with my dad, which is interesting because when he was growing up, there was football, there was basketball, and there was baseball. Those are the three sports that were offered at his high school. And now there's 12, 18 different sports offered. Mm-hmm. And so as everything expands in scope, defining who you want to do business with is vitally important. And that's where the niche marketing comes in my perspective. So what I did was we have a financial services company and we do everything from property and casualty, home and auto insurance, to estate planning, to wealth transfer, to all of that stuff, to, mutual funds, annuities, life insurances, you name it, we have it, long-term care, but our focus really got into the college environment where people are going to have to spend money first. And what that did for us is it generated a inbound client stream that was one we could service from start all the way through. So it's not that we're not financial experts, it's that our attraction model was very focused. And by having a focused attraction model, you know what you're getting in the front door. Now, people who are sending their kids to college may own companies. They may be CEOs. They may be laborers. They may be everything. So it's not a unique individual that comes in, but it is a unique moment in their lives where they have to figure out a major problem that's ahead of them. So for us, Steve, it was really a matter of motivation.
Hey, if you're enjoying Paradigm Playbook podcast, please share and tag us on social media. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Well, I like the idea of the attraction model, and I think that rolls into sports very well. And I'll use gymnastics because I always do.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, you can run gymnastics or you could have, a tumbling class. I know of one entrepreneur that is making a living as a handstand coach, and he just teaches one skill, a handstand. But I had one customer that ran a class called Everybody Flips. If you've never flipped before, it's a thrill, and I think it's something that everybody wants to do. So if everybody flips, for first time flippers, boom, here it is. So there's all these unique. In baseball, we do it all the time. We went from teaching baseball to having hitting instruction, to having a bat speed clinic, to having
a launch angle, exit velo.
Pitching. We're doing a curveball clinic. We're doing a left-handed curveball clinic next Saturday. So, and what that does is that attracts somebody who has something specific in their mind, pulls them in, and then, as you said, no different than the financial industry, you roll them right into that. So as long as you're here, let me see you're here to hit. Let me see you throw. and you spread out and offer the other services.
Yep.
So I think it all makes sense. But talking in terms of this focus on specific skills to teach, whether it's, a foul shot or I don't know what the bowling in cricket, is that what it is? It's bowling, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that's something that definitely hits us. This next one, we'll get through a couple more here, but this one's called The Rise of the Gig Economy, and this has nothing to do with technology. So that word gig is used, but this gig is people that are taking jobs that are just gigs. Mm-hmm. They're not building careers. So this is your DoorDash people that have multiple jobs, and they have these different gigs, and they're moving from gig to gig. So you have a much more transient population and a transient customer base that you have to be aware of. So to keep that customer is going to be more difficult because the parents are shifting what they're doing, what they can afford, where they live, what their time schedule, all that changes because of this gig economy. And you have to be aware of, flexible work teaching schedules for the kids. But then it's also an opportunity because there may be people out there that are looking for another gig. And, working in a sports facility is a pretty good gig.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say about that one, Steve, because I try and teach people a profession and a career. So the side gig, to me, is something that is a distraction from the success in an industry. Not that I'm not speaking down to anybody that takes on gigs or does it like that. I just know that that's a red flag if I'm hiring someone.
And I'm not looking for you or any of our listeners to, side with it, support it, or detract from it. I'm just saying, I think it's foolish not to be aware of it.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah,
without question.
So I think that, that's my only, a side hustle is a side hustle. Now, where we should be aware of it is if we have somebody we're looking at as a career opportunity and we're looking for them to grow and they feel they need a side hustle, then I think we have to say, okay, how can we restructure what we do here so that your side hustle is within the business and we can use it here? Maybe we don't have enough hours to teach baseball, but we can give you a side hustle in coaching cricket and you can learn this skill so you can teach this skill. So again, just something I think we should be aware of.
Yeah, it's certainly a trend and it's made bigger every single day.
So I'm going to do a couple more, and the second half of this conversation, we may move to another, because I think I'm overshooting my time here. But the next one, and I really hit upon this one in my corporate tenure, is that, everything is being outsourced. And that means people that are selling products are outsourcing the products. People that need sales teams are outsourcing sales teams. People that need extra accounting help are outsourcing that. So and that doesn't make it bad. It makes it real. And I think we have to be aware of it and then say, okay, where can we advance further? And I think outsourcing enhances the speed of growth. So I think, or it gives you a stepping stone to the next step. So maybe you need, you have one accountant, you can't afford two, you need more than one. So you outsource some administrative services until you grow, but it enables you to grow. And then you hire the second one. And then you have to outsource a half. So I think that happens all the time. In the sports world, we refer to 1099s as the people that we're outsourcing, that we don't have a full-time position, but they can provide a service to us and 4 other sports businesses. So they're moving around as an independent, and we're outsourcing a specific skill. In gymnastics, that happens in choreography. So the choreographer is an outsourced skill. And there are people in baseball and other sports that outsource specific things. even major basketball institutions outsource foul shooting. So, I mean, it happened in the Big Five here in Philadelphia. We saw it all the time. Outsourcing, I think, is real.
Yeah, outsourcing certainly is prevalent. I think it's also, you really have to calculate what the spend is and the value of that particular outsourcing model is, and the cultural side of it inside the organization at the same time. So we outsource certain things in our organization. And then there's other things where I absolutely refuse to outsource because I think it detracts from management capability, growth capability in certain instances. So I like the idea of the accountant, right? Let's say you got a CFO of the company, or the person that, the lead accountant becomes a CFO, right? But then we need someone to do the bookkeeping. We need someone to do some of the other stuff. We need someone to do the reporting. That stuff is all task-driven things that go out and can come back. I do not like the idea of outsourcing, key roles and key positions. But again, I'm in a different industry where it's very customer-centric, and you have to sit with them.
And I don't. So this is not a new concept. I mean,
no, not at all.
This has been going on. I just think it becomes, as specialty companies grow and enter the market, then there's more opportunities for outsourcing. Payroll has been something that's been outsourced
Forever.
for years, and there's all kinds of payroll services. And now you can outsource human services. So HR can be outsourced. And if it's something where it's getting more complicated because of regulations, then someone who's doing the research and staying ahead of that, maybe it's more affordable if they're doing it for 4 companies rather than just you. So hiring has been outsourced for years. That and now with all the online, what's the online
like ZipRecruiter and stuff
like
that.
And something like that. That's basically an outsource.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can do that. The other piece of outsourcing is as a temporary find. So you're outsourcing, you could say bringing in an intern is outsourcing a function that you're looking to make permanent. So, it's like bringing in a temp agency and using that as a test run and taking someone from a temp agency and building them into your business. So, I think, and then in the people that are in the product business, outsourcing has been commonplace.
Yeah, manufacturing.
I don't know that. There was a day when the people that made clothing, they actually made it, and now that's outsourced. Nike doesn't make sneakers. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But they don't make sneakers.
They design them.
Yeah, they design them. They promote them. They market them. So by outsourcing, it's taking something that, maybe isn't your expertise, maybe isn't where you want to spend your time, and allowing you to spend your time on something that is going to turn a better return.
I would say the only comment I'll make to outsourcing is we have a kind of a managerial stance in our organization, which is problem arises, need a solution, can it be outsourced?
Mm-hmm.
What's the pro? What's the con? Who would we outsource it to? And would it be a permanent or semi-permanent or project-based thing? And so we're always looking first to say, is this the type of thing that can be outsourced, right? Because a lot of times the outsourcing costs less than having a human in the office do it, because and typically it's not a full-time operation that necessarily needs outsourced, right? In some instances, it very much is. Like if you're hiring a sales team, or you're having a promotional company promote a product for you. But I certainly think everybody has to have that, question mark. Is this something I can outsource, or is this something I really need to dig into? Or is there someone whose expertise is this, and it would be money well spent?
Yeah, and I think there are people that live in that world. A sales rep. I was an independent sales rep for years, and I could provide the same service to multiple companies. I was calling on the same customer for all of them, so it was much more efficient to do it with me as an outsourced sales rep. So, I think, again, we just need to be aware of it. There's opportunities there, and there can be obstacles. We're going to do one more, if that's okay.
Yep.
the idea of subscription based businesses, and this is affecting us in Paradigm Playbook right now. It's like you build content, and it's much easier that if you can sell it based on subscription than having to make a sale every time you want to turn over content. So that's true in the sports world. If you're selling lessons, and if you can get people to have a subscription base that renews itself on a regular basis, and you don't have to put the effort in to doing the re-sign ups. I think there's a caveat that I'll add, that is, it can foster neglect, I think. So if you get so used to, they're here all of a sudden they're not there, and you realized you hadn't been paying attention to them because they were automatically signing up. And this happens in the publication business. You get a magazine, and all of a sudden you say, well, why am I still getting this? And no one's ever called you or asked your opinion, and all of a sudden, so you cancel your subscription. And then you hear from them and say, why did you leave? Well, it's a little bit too late at that point.
Correct.
But
well, let's be honest. The subscription is a revenue stream, right? It's a consistent revenue stream. And I think everybody in the, sort of 2000s and on, everybody has, every entrepreneurial session, every entrepreneurial class, every real estate investment deal, everybody is focused on this, like, how do you get this income that persists?
Mm-hmm.
It's constantly coming in. And so the subscription basis is a way to do that. It's also a way to manage cash flows for a lot of businesses, where you don't have these large, sales that generate all your money, and you have to maintain that and balance that over the course of several months. Rather, you're getting a consistent flow of, this is $10,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $10,000 a month. Now your cash flow is organized, so it makes it easier to run and operate a business. But I think the bigger part to that people don't understand is that is also what your business is valued on, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
So that valuation component becomes huge when you have subscription, because now you have a ongoing revenue stream that is constantly regenerative. And so now you can borrow more, you can pay more, you can afford more, as opposed to the ebbs and flows of standard business. So I think everybody's sort of been pushed into this income environment where they're focused more on cash flow management and borrowing power than anything else. And I think that's what subscriptions do.
So as we meet with equity investors, which are hovering around the sports world unbelievably right now, so there's so much opportunity for business owners that are thinking of selling their business. But that's one of the first questions that we get asked by the investors, is how much of this is subscription based? How much of it is recurring revenue? So you're exactly right. That's what you're valued on, how much it comes in. And it says, okay, now what's predictable? So you can say, well, every time we add this new program, here's how it scales, and you have the data that backs that up. Then you have something to talk to the equity investors about. So we're gonna launch this, and this, and it's going to relate to this, and this is a truth that we can back up because of past experience.
Correct, and that is again, you want to build value, build that reoccurring revenue.
So before we sign off, I wanted to say, what we did here, and I had 8 or 10 more that maybe we'll dig deeper into. But the idea, again, isn't that we think everybody needs to go out and do all these things. Whether you're running a sports business, childcare business, a financial business, one of the things that's important is that you're aware of the world around you. And these are trends that are going on right now. Trends used to develop slowly. Technology developed slowly. Now it's so fast. We just heard about AI, and it will dominate, certain parts of our businesses within a year. So it's coming quickly. And I think we just, everybody needs to, we say it all the time, is get out of your place of business, get into the world, understand what's going on, and do your own study on some of these trends. And now that we know that Google didn't sell their business originally, so you don't have to Yahoo it, you can Google it.
Yeah, and again, this all goes back to conversations we've had in the past, Steve, about just going into business eyes up, right?
Yeah.
Pay attention to what's going on around you. Doesn't mean distort your vision. Doesn't mean any of those things. It just means pay attention. And if you see something as an opportunity, then take advantage of it.
And I think next week, now mark it down that we're going to dig into some specific trends in the world of sports that are already happening. So I have 8 or 10 that I think are already happening that we can jump right into. I think it'll be fun.
Cool. All right, everybody. That's been Paradigm Playbooks podcast.
And if you like what you're hearing, subscribe.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening. Visit ParadigmPlaybook.com to discover how we can support you and your business.